estrellas en el mar. Solo quédate esta noche. Juguemos como niños a indios y vaqueros. Quémonos el alma con la punta de los dedos. Bebámonos la vida en vasos de whisky sin hielo. Dejemos que la lluvia nos pille bailando en cueros. Sintamos como el sol nos impide tocar el cielo. Contemos nuestros pasos antes de volvernos cuerdos. La luna bailará, el sol se perderá, siguiendo tu compás. Solo quédate esta noche, volveremos a brillar con la esencia de tu roce, como estrellas en el mar. Solo quédate esta noche, volveremos a sonar como una canción de rock en la barra de algún bar. Solo quédate esta noche. Seamos como un rayo que fulmina desde el cielo. Agárrame la mano y escapémonos del miedo. Volaremos alto, ya nadie podrá cogernos. Abrázame con fuerza por si el duelo se hace eterno. Déjame mirarte con ojos de cordero. Hagamos un pacto, cantaremos en silencio. Quiero perderme en tu mirada, ser el dueño de tu almohada, ser luz de la oscuridad. Solo quédate esta noche, volveremos a brillar con la esencia de tu roce, como estrellas en el mar. Solo quédate esta noche, volveremos a sonar como una canción de rock en la barra de algún bar. Solo quédate esta noche.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Talking Dogs with Ante. I don't know, my day today actually has been spent more or less by looking a lot of dog shows being cancelled all around Europe. We also in Croatia had the biggest number of new infected people since the start of the pandemic, over 700 cases today, which is incredibly a lot for the small country as us. But in a way, looking at this winter and looking that I don't think there are going to be many dog shows, at least till the better weather arrives. I'm happy that on Wednesdays we can have a way to be together like our little doggy family. And I'm extremely happy to be able to share my time with you. And of course, I'm extremely grateful to all the amazing guests that are accepting our invitations to join us. Tonight, it's my first ever guest that I will have from Portugal. She is definitely one of the most powerful women in the dog world, no doubts about that. A lady who has traveled all around the world with incredible knowledge and experience in dogs in every possible way. And I'm really looking forward to share her story with all of you. Good evening, Carla. How are you?
Hello, Ante. I'm fine.
Tell me for the start, Carla, how is the situation with this crazy pandemic now in Portugal? And while you are answering that, I also want to ask you, how much did your life change in the last few months?
Well, the situation in Portugal is a little bit like it is in the rest of Europe, which the pandemic is now becoming more serious, growing. Today they have declared the state of calamity So it's not good news. But our life continues. The life of everybody has changed. I don't think our life or my life has changed in a different way from others, except that I have learned to work from home and do a lot of work for the Kennel Club from home. Change the style of work and change the type of work that I was doing so that the dog community could be fulfilled with things to do. And that was my priority over the past months.
Yeah, but not only your work in the Kennel Club. I mean, you have been used for so many years to be away every weekend to travel, and then suddenly at one point this has crashed for all of us. How are you dealing with not traveling without airports, hotels, judging dogs?
I had already reduced a little bit, so I was not really traveling every week like a lot of you do, maybe twice a month or something like that. So that's a different story. But yes, it was in a certain way it was a relief because airports were becoming really difficult to go to and to travel through, and in a certain way it was relief. But of course I miss it, as all of you miss it. I miss it in a special way.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all in a way miss the friends. We miss this social gathering,
Mainly.
to other people. Yes, because I think it's nice to be also at home, but sometimes you need to see also other people, and this pandemic really doesn't give us many options to see other people. But let's hope that is going to change soon. Anyhow, before I start with my questions, and we already have over 100 viewers and I don't know, already 20 comments and people from all around the world saying hello to you and me, Carla, starting, of course, with Andrew, who is wishing us good evening.
Hello, everybody.
Ian Stewart Ricci, Patricia da Koning from South Africa, Harry from Amsterdam, Bettina from Greece, Nicola from England, Sighilde Ovar, Laura from Italy, Oliver from Ireland, Mike from Netherlands, Laura from Finland. So people from all around, people from Vietnam, South Africa, Spain, people from all around the world are watching this interview. And this is always something that makes me incredibly happy, that we have such a large community that is following these interviews. And I hope that they are going to continue saying their regards to, especially to you, because to me they see here on this place every week. And if somebody will have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them, and I will read them to Carla. I want to ask you, Carla, first, let's stay a little bit more in the present. I know that in the last few months you have been mentioning on social media openly that we should not rush with the dog shows, and definitely for some longer period there were no dog shows in Portugal. But you had some dog shows, I think, a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I want to ask you, from your personal experience, how it was to come back to a dog show in Portugal, to wear the mask, to have this completely another thing that we are used to be. How did you live with that?
Well, we had this dog show at the end of September. It was like a window opening because we had been completely shut down since March. And I think it was a very lucky moment, a moment at the end of the summer where there was not so many cases of COVID, and we managed to get this show together, and the organizers did a very good job. And it was kind of sad for me because one of the most important things in dog show is also the way we deal with each other. We meet, we talk, we smile, we exchange different opinions. And this, in this show and in any shows at the moment, is difficult because you have a mask, because you want to stay away, because you're only there for a little time. And that was the difference. But all things considered, it was an excellent experience. And for some exhibitors, it was the way of coming back and enjoying a little moment with friends, or at least people that they are close to. We are now continuing to plan. We would like to do another dog show in November, end of November, and it's all ready now. It's already on paper. But we have now, with this new situation with the COVID, and the declaration of pandemic, of a state of contingency, totally different from what it was last week. We probably are not sure that we can do it, but we will continue to work on it and hope that we can get everybody together at the end of November again.
Yeah, that's what we are all hoping. But unfortunately, as I said, the numbers are going up, and I don't know. We have all been a little bit, as you said, in September and August, a little bit encouraged that maybe
Yes,
the things will be possible. But now it really starts to be again very frustrating. And I keep my fingers crossed for
but
you.
everything is a calculated risk nowadays. So we
Yeah,
have to calculate the risk of organizing and not being able to do it at the end of all the work, the risk that everybody takes because they will be in the middle of more people, so there's an extra risk. But the way we have conceived it, this next show, if we can make it, I think the risk will be minimized, and so we don't have the people at the same time in the show ground.
Yeah.
If we can do it, it will be a minor risk. As you
Yeah.
said, and very well, I was one of the persons on Facebook that said, be careful, don't want to go to dog shows at all costs. Before, it's more important to be healthy than to go to a dog show, because a lot of exhibitors and a lot of people in the dog world tend to be very excited about dog shows, and they don't think of the danger. So we have to be responsible for not only for us but for the others.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think of course it's nice to have a dog show, and of course it's nice to be able to travel and to meet people, but I think the health and the security of all of us has to be the priority number one. And if we can manage that, perfect, but if we can't, it's better not to risk, because we are talking actually about life of people, so
Exactly.
It's not something to play with. I want to ask you one more thing about the present, Carla. This is something that is very actual. Yesterday, just yesterday, has been announced that the World Dog Show in Madrid is being postponed to 2022.
Yes.
We know the show has been already 3 times postponed, first to July, then to December, and now finally to 2022. I want to ask you your personal opinion about the situation that we are going to have in the next 2 years. Next year, in May, we should have 2 European dog shows, and then in 2022, we should have 2 World Dog Shows. What is your personal opinion about that?
What do you mean, my personal opinion? Personal opinion
about having, for the first time in the history, 2 European shows in the same year and 2 World Dog Shows in the same year.
Okay. Because I cannot do futurology, so I don't know what will happen.
Yes.
We may be able to do them. I hope so. But
Yes.
nothing is guaranteed. What I think that, as I've said several times already, extraordinary times need extraordinary actions, extraordinary measures. And I think this is an extraordinary measure and a way to be able to allow these countries that have worked so hard to do their big shows the possibility of doing their shows. So I think it's a very good position. I think that the exhibitors will accept it with grace and will be there for both the shows, either in May for the European shows or the next year for the 2 World Dog shows. I think it's a positive situation, and a way that, and I'm very pleased that the kennel clubs were generous to each other and that they managed to reach agreements and that they allowed each other to have their moment. So I think, all things considered, and I think it's a very good solution. Of course, not forever. It's not going to happen the rest of the time. But in this situation, this solution is the best.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think in a way, it is really nice that the FCI and the kennel clubs have shown kind of a friendship one to another and to help to the people, because you yourself, you have organized hundreds of dog shows in your life, and you know how much of preparations go into it. And I think it's nice that they have shown a kind of friendship one to another to let us have this kind of thing, which is, of course, extraordinary, but only possible at this time. Anyhow, there are comments coming all the time, people really watching from all around the world. That is something that always makes me incredibly happy. Let me try to catch on some. Magdalena is saying to us hello from Poland. Beatrix from Switzerland. People from Spain. Let me see who is this. Harry One Tuhil is saying we love you, Carla. So you have also some.
Thank you.
Tina Taulos, hello from from Finland. George Shogol from Georgia. From people from South Africa, from Malta, from Sweden, UK, Romania, Sweden again. Patricia de Koning saying, well said, rather safe than sorry. That is next year, we hope, for the shows. People from Israel and a lot of people from all around the world. I'm really happy and grateful to all of you who are watching. Carla, I want to go now to the past, to your starts in the dog world. I have done one interview with you many years ago for one newspapers, and I remember you said that actually in your family nobody has been involved in the dogs in the same way as you are. I know that your mother had a Sealyham Terrier. I know that you got your first dog from your grandfather, but actually that was that they were not involved obviously in breeding and showing like you are. Tell me, how did your story and your love for the purebred dog start?
Well, I think it was something that I cannot even know myself how it started, because ever since I was a little baby, I was always drawn to dogs. A dog would pass and I would go and touch it. And that made my family somehow nervous, because I would just embrace dogs in the streets. So that's how it started. Now, how did that, what the evolution into really a passion for the dog world comes with my curiosity to understand the breeds I really loved. And although I did have, as you say, my mother's Sealyhams and the Pekingese also, and then also my grandfather's little wild fox terrier, those were my very first pets. My breed, my heart breed from the beginning that I really loved and that drove me to the world of dogs was the German Shepherd. And because I was, we are talking the 60s. The 60s is a period where, people that are born now, they are young adults now, they cannot understand what that was. I mean, we had no communication, we had no information, nothing. And we had to really dig and find and really do investigation in order to find whatever things. And this passion for German Shepherds was enormous, and I started trying to read everything I could find, everything. And I would go to libraries, I would go to the Kennel Club office and dig into old papers and until I knew everything. That is, I think, the beginning. The beginning was for me. Yes. Yeah, it was yes. knowing, getting to know.
I said to you before we started the interview that I would like to do a kind of a small walk through the years of your life with dogs, because you have had, let's say, a luck that many other people didn't have, to live your life with many different breeds, and I'm sure that has incredibly helped you later on with your judging career and everything. But what I want to ask you before I want to go back a little bit to the family, and I always ask people that question. You have come from the family which has not been, let's say, professionally involved in dogs. I want to ask you, are you happy that your daughter Katarina has in a way continued your way and has get from you this love for the sport, and that she's involved in the sport, let's say, more or less the same like you? Are you happy about this, or you would like that she has gone in another
I would like to tell you that she's not at all like me in the sport. She has a total different approach. She's much more a person of her time, and dog and doxinology has a different meaning for her. She's not passionate for breeds or a breed, or she's passionate to know and to find things and to understand all the activities that are involved within the dog world. It's a total different way of being in dogs. I was a dog person who liked to breed dogs. That is not her way. So her way is a very interesting way, because she's much more modern, much more in tune with what goes on in the world of dogs, in the satellite areas that are not
Yeah,
only
yeah,
breeding or showing. So she's much more into
yeah.
that. So
And
I'm
you're
very
happy
happy
about that?
she likes it, and very happy
Okay.
she finds her place within the dog world,
Yeah,
which is
that's
not the
nice.
same as mine.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Anyhow, tell me, Carla, in 1963, you got your prefix Valle Negro, which you have kept till today. Where did the name come from?
From a silly young woman, the young that thought that the Black Valley was really a romantic name for breeding German shepherds. I,
Okay.
it, I've been carrying this kennel name for the past 60 years, and I always telling myself, how silly, what a stupid name. But that's what it was, and I've
Okay.
used it so
So,
all the
so
time.
we did. So this you want to say that young Carla was very romantic. This is
Very
what you
much,
wanted to
but
say.
let me tell you something, a little story that back in the 70s, 80s, I found out that there was another kennel name that was Del Valle Negro.
Hmm.
And I was very upset because my kennel name is Valle Negro, and there was a Del Valle Negro. And I wanted to make a protest. Then I found out that the kennel name was in the name of the King of Spain. And
Okay.
and so I didn't do anything. But it's interesting that the King of Spain had the same taste as I did. He had Del Valle Negro, and I have Del
Yeah,
Valle Negro.
that's an interesting story. I didn't know about that, but that's definitely something interesting. Tell me, you mentioned Carla already that your, let's say, in a way, a little bit professional involvement with the dog world started with the German Shepherds. How did you get in contact with the breed, and how did you start with the German Shepherds?
German Shepherds, I was always, as I said, very passionate, and I wanted a German Shepherd. I wanted to have a German Shepherd puppy, and my father was not at all interested. But I begged and begged and made it so difficult for him that he finally gave in, and he gave me a German Shepherd puppy, bitch. And her name was Karina. And the only thing Karina about her was the name. She was ugly. She had long hair, and and but I loved her. I loved her, and I thought she was the nicest puppy in the world, the nicest dog in the world. And then one day, when she was about 1.5 years old, I decided to go to a dog show. Dog show. And I took Karina to a dog show. And I took Karina to a dog show. And of course, the judge hated her and gave her a good. And I walked out of the ring in tears. And I was really mortified. And at that moment, it could have been the end for me. But I was so lucky because an exhibitor there with German Shepherds, a very famous exhibitor, he saw how upset I was, and he came to me and he said, "You need to have a good dog. You love this breed. You need to have really a good dog." And he, really brought me back and brought me in. And so after that, I told my mother, I and my father, I want to have a top dog, and that's how it started. That's how it started. And I did have some
Yeah.
very good German Shepherds.
Yeah. Tell me, Carla. In 1965, you mentioned now you started with Karina, which has not been a great dog. Well, far away from that. But in 1965 already you won your first Best in Show with the German Shepherds. Do you remember what kind of excitement that was?
Oh, it was a fantastic excitement. German Shepherd was that time a breed also that basically it was policemen that had them, or in the rings, all these men with uniforms, and they had these dogs, and they came from the National Guard. And here I am, a young woman with a very nice German Shepherd I got from Italy. That was my first beautiful German Shepherd from the Kennel della Meta. And I won the breed over it. I was a top entry and won the breed, and then went up to Best in Show because he was a beautiful dog, and that was something for me, really.
Yeah.
I've had Best in Shows
Yeah.
twice with German Shepherds. That's good.
Yeah,
When I could handle
that's
them.
yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, we were all young at some point, but I mean, in general, I think German Shepherds are very difficult breeds to show. Not an easy breed for anybody. But I think I, in a way, when I have never shown a German Shepherd in my life, but when I look the shows, these big specialties, it must be a special kind of excitement to show a German Shepherd because they are in a way special.
Ante, yes, but remember that at that time we're talking, German Shepherds were the old type. They were not the new type. They were not run around the ring like they are run around the ring now. It was a different way of showing, a different way of being in the ring. So
This is
the change made it very difficult because you need to be in very good shape.
Yes, this is what brings me to my next question to you. I wanted to ask you, because that has been your first breed. How much did the breed change from the time when you started with the German Shepherd and when you look today, the German Shepherds in this, let's say these were the 60s. So in these 60 years, how much did the breed change?
A lot, but not. How can I say? I had very modern type German Shepherds for the time. For the time, I had dogs that are, had the good angulations and had the good, beautiful heads and very very well proportioned. So that's why I won best in shows with them. They did change a lot, a lot. Basically, it's the change of standard made me go out of showing German Shepherds and breeding German Shepherds because the dogs became too different from the original ones. And around
So
the late 70s, I decided that it was not my world to go around the ring in a suit and like a running suit and running around with that was not my thing. So I decided that I was not going to show German Shepherds any longer and just kept the ones I had.
Yeah, but then of course now I can connect quite well your story with what you are saying. At some point when the breed started to change, you have gone to something very much in a way different, much more elegant. You got in 1967 your first Afghans and Salukis. That has been definitely something different than German Shepherds. How did your love with the Sighthounds start?
Well, you have to understand the time we're talking about. We're talking the 70s, the flower generation, the revolution, from conservative to modern. And I was at university. I was, through all these changes. And in the university, I never stopped in Italy. I never stopped loving my dogs. And although my shepherds were in Portugal, I was in Italy. I said, I must have a dog. And because I had all these books and I started digging in the books, I saw these Afghan hounds. And I thought the Afghan hound was the most exotic, beautiful, magnificent animal I had seen in my life. And I decided I wanted one. And it was love when I finally got it, which was an adventure. This adventure because you've heard it. Finally got it. Then I could not stop. And Afghans were totally different from German Shepherds in everything. So it was for me like starting again, knowing exactly what the breed thought was in the breed's head and breeding this different dog. And from the Afghans came the Salukis because they're related, and I also like that. And I managed to have Afghans and Salukis for many years at the same time.
Yeah, I want to ask you, Carla, the same question, more or less, what I have asked you about the German Shepherds. I have seen you have published just a few days ago some pictures of your Afghans from that time. How much did the breed change in these years? And do you think that has changed into better, or it has changed into the worst?
You mean the Afghans?
Afghans, yes.
Well, you see, I started the Afghans when there was no Afghans in Europe. It was like to find an Afghan in Europe was really difficult. I had to travel many miles to find one, and then to find other breeders. I was in Italy, there was only one breeder, and then maybe someone in Germany, in Holland, there was a breeder. So it was like the beginning of the Afghans. And then because I was traveling so much, I was going to England, I started looking at the English Afghans, and I was very fortunate to buy an English champion at that time. It was a difficult dog to buy, but I got it. I was very lucky. And he started my breeding. And because I love this dog. It was a beautiful dog. It's the one that you've seen in Monte Carlo, and Tacabortiaga. It was 12 cc's, a top dog of that time, and this dog really was fantastic, and it gave me so much pleasure showing this dog. And then I started looking into the American scene, because I was going every year. I was going to Crufts and to Westminster. It was like commuting from one to other. It was the Crufts years, and then I started going to the Westminster dog show. There was an African specialty going on the day before. So I got very involved in the American style Afghans, and very involved, and finally bought several dogs in the United States. Those dogs were very new for Europe. People had never seen that type of dogs. And I brought them back to Portugal and bred them. Had a partnership with Norman Widobro. He bred from my dogs. I bred from his dogs. And together, I think we did a lot for the new style Afghan in Europe. I think those were the golden years for the Afghans. The Afghans were magnificent in the 70s, 80s, maybe beginning of 90s. But since then, Afghan hounds have become a little bit more difficult to find good ones, except that in Australia, in the Scandinavian, we're always doing a very good job.
And what would you say, Carla, nowadays when you are judging them, and obviously you are judging them quite often because you are considered obviously as a breeder judge and the specialist for the breed. What would you say that at the moment is the biggest problem of the Afghans?
I think the biggest problem of the Afghans has always been the same, is that people put too much emphasis on coat and less emphasis on structure. And Afghans are a very special breed, and they have to have several very important points of the breed. If they don't have them, it doesn't matter if their coat is dripping to the ground, if they don't move properly, if they don't have the correct angulations in the front, which many of them don't, then it's not a good Afghan, even if he has beautiful coat. So that is the biggest problem. Nowadays, it's difficult to find magnificent Afghans. You find recently, in the past years, 2-3 years, I've seen much better Afghans, fortunately, than what I used to see 10 years ago. So I think the breed might be able to pull through. Yeah. But it's a difficult breed. Not everybody can have it. And that is why it's not a very popular breed nowadays.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Anyhow, before we continue with the story, let me read a few of the comments, because otherwise I'm going to lose them all, and they're coming one after another. Christina Kocic is saying hello from us also. It is so nice to see Carla. And of course, you too, Ante. We are so excited to hear Carla. Then we have people again from South Africa. Adriana Bratianu saying hello, Ante. Big honor to listen to professional Carla. Let me see. My computer is so old. I definitely need a new computer. Marina Sergeyeva saying hello from Moscow, dear Carla. People from Italy. Pavel Karikov saying boa noite desde Moscow. And Alin Dumitrescu saying hello again. Kisses Carla. Amazing job, Ante. So I'm very happy we have over 150 people watching, and keep on coming with the comments. I'm sure that also Carla likes to hear your regards from time to time. And if you will have any questions during the interview, please post them in the comments. I don't know when did the story more or less of Afghans and Salukis stopped. When did you stop having them? But in 1978, you got first miniature dachshunds. That has been again a jump from the big dogs to the small dogs.
You know, Ante, one thing I want to say is I've never been faithful to one single breed. You've noticed that. I've had breeds at the same time. I've had the breeds that I was really working intensely, like the Afghans, the Salukis. Of course, when I mean intensely, I don't mean I was breeding every week, but I was really working on them. And then I had breeds that came close to me that I thought, oh, it's a lovely dog. I'd like to, know more about it. All of this comes from really a need to know more about the breed. And then I come in contact with the breed, and I love the temperament, and I decide that they are good dogs for me. Miniature dachshunds come from two situations. First, in Italy, a friend of mine had one, and I thought he was a fantastic bitch. He was a wire-haired bitch, and I liked her so much. And I said, well, I should have one of these in my house. And then from going to the US, there is always, at the time of Westminster, there is always a specialty, at the knickerbroker specialty for dachshunds. And being there, and I saw for the first time the miniature wires, and I was really very impressed. And I met the breeder. She was really a nice person, and she allowed me to have 2 of her dogs, and that's how it started, with the 2 little miniature wires. They were my pets. They lived in the house. Afghans are not so easy in the house, as you know. I've had one in the house, but it's a difficult breed. And Salukis, at one point, I had 9 in the house, and believe me, they destroyed my house, and destroyed it. If I think of the beautiful things that they broke and they chewed, I don't even want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. So, dachshunds were very easy, very easy, very easy. So they were a nice pet, and I more than just. I never bred dachshunds with the same passion that I bred the others. I had three or four in the house, and they were only, maybe I had 1 litter or 2. I mean, it was not a breeding breed.
Okay.
No.
Perry Burnside is saying hello from Ireland. Anna Madon saying good evening from Slovenia. Cesar Yul saying what a joy listening to Carla. Ola from Spain. Milovan Babic saying hello from Montenegro. Michael Canalizo saying I got in just as Afghans came up. Carla is so right. And then Andrew is asking you a question. He's saying, please ask Carla about Amenofi, the Afghan, and how she financed feeding him when she was in university in Italy. So I suppose that's an interesting story.
Okay, that's a long story, but anyway, that was my first Afghan. As I said, I mentioned this before, that I, looked at this book by Fiorenzo Fiorone in Italy, in an encyclopedia, and there was this beautiful Afghan, and I decided I must have one of these. And then it started the long quest to find one. I started phoning the local kennel club. Nobody had ever heard about this breed. I started digging into newspapers. No one was selling this dog. No one knew what it was. And finally, after much looking for it, I found a breeder that lived about, the other side of Italy. I was in Pisa, the breeder was in Bergamo. So I got in touch by phone. Everything was done by phone. Yeah. And the phone was manual, it was not the normal phone that you see, you saw later on. And then finally, this breeder, I got in touch with this breeder, and they said, yes, we have a dog for you. If you want to come and pick it up, please come. And I did, and I got myself in the train, and they had to change trains, and a long adventure. Anyway, I got this dog, was not the dog originally they wanted to sell me. They wanted to sell me a puppy. I didn't like the puppy at all. I saw another one that I liked, and I said, well, what about that one? Oh, that one is for sale, but it's twice the price because he's already 11 months old. But I could not say no. That was the dog. That was, fell in love with it. And so I said, I don't have the money. And she said, well, you can pay me in installments, so much every month. I just got the dog, and I said, okay, gave her the money that I had for the original puppy, came back on the train the same day. And I remember in the train, I looked at the dog looked at me. We were sitting in this first class alone, fortunately the 2 of us, for a long trip. And I said, Amenofi, how are we going to survive? I don't have any money left. I don't have any money left. And I'm not going to tell my mother I spent all the money for the month in buying a dog, because she'll kill me. And so anyway, we got back to Pisa. My friends were waiting for me at the station. They were very happy to see me with this strange looking dog. They said, it's a monkey. It's not a dog. And he walked like a monkey, he really did. And took the dog home. And then I had to say, well, how are we going to eat? So there was 2 ways we could do it. And I decided that I was going to do it in the best way, which was go to the coffee shop, and they had jukebox. They had jukebox at that time. You remember the jukebox? Mm-hmm. And I didn't have any money, so I would say, "Can you give me 10 lire for the jukebox?" And someone would give me 10 lire. And then 10 minutes later, "Will you give me 10 lire for the jukebox?" And when I had 100 lire, which is what I needed, I would just walk out of the coffee shop and with my 100 lira, which was enough to go to the Mensa, the restaurant for the university, and get the money and get the food, which was pasta. And there was half for me, and half the pasta was for Amenofi. I would take home. And that's how I fed Amenofi for about a month, until my mother found out somehow that something was wrong. And, and then that was the end of the adventure.
Well, definitely we can say that your passion for dogs was really big when you have made that kind of sacrifice, to have your first home dog.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about the passion and the will that you wanted to have something.
Yeah.
Okay, definitely interesting story.
That was a story.
Yeah. We are continuing, Carla, with the breeds. 1980, the first Pekingese are coming.
The what?
Pekingese.
The Pekingese. Okay, again, the same thing. My very best friends were John and Dodie Bird of Peaksville. They had wonderful Pekingese here. And we used to go to their house all the time. They're older people, and they just dumped this Pekingese bitch on me. They say, "You must have this bitch. You must have." I said, "I don't want it." "Yes, you must." So here I came home with Betty Boop of Peaksville, which was a Pekingese. And Betty Boop was really a lovely Pekingese, and she was my companion until she died, and I loved her. And I had one litter from her, and I decided not to have any more litters because Pekingese litters are really difficult.
A nightmare.
Nightmare, and it's not for me.
Yeah.
And so one litter with Betty Boop was enough, and Betty Boop lived until she was very old, because Pekingese never die, as you know. They go on and on and on and on. But that made me very interested in the breed, and I studied the breed. You see, every time I have a new breed, I need to know all about it. I need to know all of who are the parents, who are the grandparents, what's the pedigree, what are the lines, what is the standard, what is everything, so this need of knowledge, which was really impossible to quench. And nowadays it's so easy. You just go to internet and they tell you everything. At that time, you really had to dig. And I dug and bought magazines and papers and books and everything. So, Pekingese gave me that opportunity too, to know them better.
It is amazing always to listen, to the people who started in dogs in 60s and 70s about all the things. I mean, when I think about myself and when I was getting my first dog, it was the same thing. You could not go to internet and find a good breeder and just send the message on Messenger. I remember I was writing to this lady in Spain letters and waiting that she answers my letter. I mean, everything was much more difficult, and obviously we had to put much more effort in everything. So that's amazing.
And people wouldn't really sell you dogs that easily. They would ask and inquire and find out. When I got my first Saluki, the lady that sold it to me, and I found the best breeder at the time, one of the best breeders in England, Hope Waters from Burrydown. She gave me the drill. She sent me a list of questions, a list of where do you live and how do you live, how much money you live and you have, and what would the dog have. It was really an incredible list of requirements in order to qualify to have one of her dogs. So that was a different way, All this by letter. By letter, they took 5 days to go and 5 days to come back.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose that in this letter you didn't write that you would need to go to ask Liras for jukebox to feed the Saluki, because
that time
she would never sell it.
That time my financial situation was a lot better.
It's better.
A lot better.
Yes. Okay, Carla. Then we are coming to 83. And if I read well from your CV, that has been a year where you have got the first Whippets, the first Italian Sighthounds, the first Portuguese water dogs, and the pointers. So that has been when you really decided to...
Okay. Again, this is 4 different situations, actually 3 different situations. The Portuguese water dogs, we will deal with it later on. It's a long story. But the Whippet and the pointer came as a package. And the Italian Greyhound, very quickly, I can tell you, it was Norman Widobro who gave me this puppy for my daughter. The Italian Greyhounds were really my daughter's dog. Willacos Fiorella was my daughter's first dog, and she loved it, and she showed it, and she really had a big relationship with this dog. So Italian Greyhounds were actually my daughter's more than mine. But the pointer and the whippet, there's again, I was judging in Brazil, and I was staying with a very good friend of mine, Jose Mauricio MacLean at that time, and he was a top breeder and had fantastic dogs, and he bred pointers and whippets. And I stayed with him about 10 days, and he said to me, "You're not going to go back without a pointer and a whippet." I said, "I don't want a pointer, and I don't want a whippet. I don't want." But he said, "No way, you're going to take them. You're going to take them." And that's it. Again, I got these the puppies dumped on me. I had to travel all the way from Sao Paulo with these two dogs in the hull of the plane and not really knowing what to do with them. And, and it's interesting because both breeds were very, very important for me. The pointers, I never bred many. I bred a few litters, but I became the president of the Pointer Club for many, many different reasons, which is not now important to say. And I really worked a lot for that breed, on the institution where I tried to, did a lot of club shows and worked for the breed. In the whippets, it started a really interesting work as a breeder. I am very proud of my work as a whippet breeder, because that bitch became my pet. She became dog of the year on that year. She was a beautiful bitch. She was dog of the year in 1983. She was different, was a little bit American style, but small. She was small, and she started for me a really good line of whippets. I'm very proud because I had international champions with a very small amount of breeding. International champions, Italian champions, Portuguese, French champions, which is not easy in that breed, and Scandinavian champion. There are a lot of champions in that breed bred by me. So it was as for a breed that gave me a lot of pleasure.
Yes, and what was with the Portuguese water dogs?
Okay,
that has been the first of the Portuguese breed that you got, and we know you got some other ones. We will talk later, but the Portuguese water dogs were the first one.
Okay. The president of the Portuguese Kennel Club at that time was Dr. Antonio Cabral, and he was my vet. That's how I went into the Portuguese Kennel Club, was because Dr. Antonio Cabral was my vet. He was the one that came to my grandfather's home with my first wild fox terrier. So he was someone that I'd known for ages, and he knew about my passion for dogs. He knew about my work in the Afghans, and he was the one that really asked me for help. He was trying to recover this breed. The Portuguese water dogs were close to extinction. They were the Guinness Book of Records dog, the most rare dog in the late 70s. And he did not have the possibility of breeding them because he didn't have the conditions, but he knew I had very good kennels, very modern for that time. And he asked me, please help me breed these dogs because they are all dying. We don't have any possibility of breeding them at the kennels that I work with, because he was a state veterinarian, and he had the municipal kennels. That situation was not good for breeding. And from the 70s, all the litters from his dogs were born at my kennel. The first litter had 13 puppies. I bottle fed them all. I was night and day trying to save all these dogs because they simply didn't exist. You had to save them all. And then I helped him get dogs together to the States, send his dogs to the state because I could speak English, and the people in the States were very interested in having these dogs. So I did all the relationship between the Portuguese Kennel Club and the Portuguese Water Dog Club of America. And all of a sudden I was breeding these dogs, my own, myself. He gave me 2 dogs. He said, now you can breed. And that's how it started. And I did a lot of breeding in Portuguese water dog. I really worked very hard on this breed. I never had a Portuguese water dog in the house. Never.
Yeah.
Interesting. I never had. They were basically my kennel dogs, and they were, perfectly groomed. I had a groomer that lived here, and I bred quite a few litters. of these dogs and studied the breed, wrote books on the breed. It was a passionate breed for me because it's such an interesting story on this breed.
But it's very, very interesting what you say that actually, let's say that you started to breed them because they were near to extinction. And I mean, nowadays they are quite a popular breed. I mean,
thank God for that. Thank God for that. And when I saw that the breed was well on its way, because I made sure when my years of breeding to export dogs to many places. I sent dogs to Finland. I sent dogs to Holland. I sent dogs to Italy, to a lot of countries, to France. I gave them, my champions, Finnish champions. I would give them. I didn't sell them. Give my champions to Finland and said, you can breed with my actually. The Japanese Shins I have I traded with the Finnish breeder. She gave me the Japanese Shin, and I gave her a champion Portuguese water dog because she needed it. And I did a lot of work with that. And when I saw that the breed was established, that people had them all over, that my work was finished. You understand?
Yeah.
My work in this breed was finished. And and that's when I stopped. And I gave my last dogs to my vet, who still has been breeding with my lines and continues breeding with my lines, and in the background, of course. And I think the breed is now in good hands, although it's a difficult breed also because the people in this breed are very difficult people, and really are from the beginning. From the beginning, it attracts special people. From the beginning, there were wars. People that don't like each other, they don't want to work with each other. It was too much for me. I am a pacific person. I don't want wars.
Well, we all prefer to have peace. But I mean, when you say there are difficult people, I think there are difficult people in all the breeds. But yes,
I'm sure.
There are some breeds that are especially difficult. That's for sure. Anyhow, before we continue with the breeds, Sabine van der Zwan is writing, I met my first Portuguese water dog in the USA in 1992. It's a lovely breed. Elizabeth H saying, hello, everyone. Just come in after walking beagles. Best wishes and stay safe to all of you. Ana Lucia Saletti saying to us, hello from Rome. Joka Correa saying, Carla is a great ambassador of the Portuguese breed. And then, let's say, starting my next question, and my next question is going a little bit to 1990 when you started to breed Portuguese Podengos. I'm going to read a little bit longer message by Nicola Spencer, who is saying, hello, Carla. I was very fortunate to be able to attend one of your seminars in the UK on your beloved Podengo Pequeño. It was a privilege to share in your passion and knowledge for the breed through your presentation. Your exploration, let me just move it. Your exploration of the history of the breed was way back to ancient times was the most extensive and comprehensive I have seen in any breed seminar. Truly fascinating. I have had the pleasure to watch you judge many breeds around the world, and it is always a fantastic opportunity to learn. I am always in awe of your support for your native breeds in Portugal. Best regards. A nice message for you.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your words. Podengos.
So we are coming, Carla, to 1990. For a difference of the Portuguese water dogs, which are now quite a popular breed, Podengos never became really a very popular breed around the world.
Well, Podengos were also I'm talking about the small Podengos. And at that time, it was small Podengos smooth because the wires were not yet on the scene. And Podengos were also suffering from the same problem as the Portuguese water dogs. The small Podengos were disappearing and were totally inbred. And there were no puppies born. And when they were born, they would die. And again, Dr. Cabral asked me to help him and a little bit. And then I was very fortunate that for some different reasons, I ended up at the Lisbon Zoo taking over his position. He was the man that looked after the kennel of Portuguese breeds at the Lisbon Zoo. In the Lisbon Zoo at that time, there was a part of the zoo that had kennels where they had Portuguese dog breeds on display. And it was Dr. Cabral was the one that managed it. And because when he died, I inherited that task somehow. And the task was to get people to give me dogs of several Portuguese breeds to put there so that the people would see them and then they could be bred and the zoo would sell the puppies. We're talking about a different way of things.
Definitely, definitely
Okay.
different
Yeah,
way.
but there's really no commercial selling of puppies, just the way that it was done that way and at that time. And the president of the zoo was a man that is just a very good friend, became a really good friend, that he himself had always been breeding Portuguese Podengos pequenos, smooths, and he had them from the original line because it was a family line of breeding, and he had them, and he put his own dogs there, and I managed to make that these puppies were born in spite of the fact that they were not in the best conditions. I took care of them and managed to be able to have puppies. And he gave me two of his puppies, two or three, actually three of these puppies, several litters later. And that's how I started, with three dogs from the zoo, Lisbon Zoo. And it was nowadays, I mean, it's so lucky. I was so lucky that I was able to bring to my home these dogs because they became my pets. I love Podengos, and I really did a lot of work with this breed. And from the smooths, then I managed to breed a smooth to a wire and started my wire line. And I also done a lot of breedings, in the wires, and I'm quite well known in the world for breeding wire Podengos, more than smooths, although I have more smooths than wires right now. And it's a very interesting breed and a very primitive breed, but you have to really love them. And if you live with one, you get to love them, really. And I think it will become a very popular breed also in the future.
Okay. One of the last breeds that came to your kennel, and you just mentioned a little bit before that it came as a trading deal to you, were the Japanese chins.
Again, I was very lucky, This exchange I did with Paula Cangasalo of a Slazano dog for just a dog. It was not a champion, but a really nice dog. And then she got these Portuguese water dog champions from me, and she gave me a nice, very nice dog, and he became really a champion. He had a lot of success, and then I managed to get a bitch also from I think it was from Norway. I don't remember. It was so long ago, and I bred, and yeah, I was so successful. I had beautiful puppies. And the first litter or second litter, I had an European winner, an Italian champion. I bred very little, or maybe 2 or 3 litters maximum. But I had a lot of success, and I got it very involved in the breed, trying to know more and more about this breed. And it's a breed of my heart. I look at the Japanese chin and I really love them, and they are fantastic dogs. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Easy to keep. Yeah, they have some problems, as all breeds do, but they are so easy to keep and such nice dogs to have. Yeah. So that was my small adventure. Small
adventure, yes. Okay, before we go to the last of the breeds that I want to mention, and I want to talk a little bit more about that breed, let me just ask you which breeds you have at home now.
I have Podengos, only Podengos. Only Podengos. Yes, I have one Transmontano Mastiff and one Barrocal, which is a Portuguese breed that you don't know about. But basically what I have is Podengos.
Podengos. Okay. Yes. Okay, so I want to go to 2005 and your affair with these Transmontano Mastiffs.
You're gone.
I know Yeah. Do you hear me?
You're going.
Do you hear me now?
Now, yes. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So as I said, I want to go to 2005 when your affair with the Transmontano Mastiff started, and I know you are very passionate about the breed. First of all, I would like to ask you, how did you get in contact with the breed, and what it is that has actually connected you with these Transmontano Mastiffs?
First of all, it was not 2005, but 2003. That's
Okay.
how the first connection that I had, 2002, 2003, the first connection I had with this breed. This breed was, I can't remember. We are at the beginning, at the end of the beginning of this century. The roads were not what they are now, and communication was not what it is now. So Transmontano means from the other side of the mountains. It's the top northeastern part of Portugal, about 600 kilometers from Lisbon. At that time, it was a 10 hours drive. And, you don't go there. You didn't go there.
Yeah.
I never went there. And I flew the whole world. I've been 5 times around the planet, but I'd never gone to the Trás-os-Montes region. And this breed was there, and people that wanted, a regional recognition. They wanted to have this breed as a breed, and they wrote to the Kennel Club several times, and we sent their judges to see them, and they could not make up their minds exactly what to do with these dogs. And it went on and on and on for a few years, until that exactly in 2002, I said, okay, I'm going to go and see these dogs. I have to go and see them, because we can't continue to say no to these people. No, we don't have time. And let me go there and see if really this is a breed or not, and if we can continue to do something with it. And so I gathered, because I couldn't go alone, otherwise my own opinion would not be enough. I gathered a group of people that were important people at that time, and they still are very knowledgeable people at the Kennel Club. They were working in committees of the Kennel Club, technical committee, the Portuguese Breeds Committee. Said, let's go all together in this expedition to this part of Portugal, and take the whole 3 or 4 days and to this gathering of dogs, and see what we think and decide. And we did, and it took us about 8 or 9 hours to get there. And we got there, and it was like going to the end of the world, and I cannot. The sensation was unbelievable, because we got to this remote little village on the border with Spain, God-forsaken place in the middle of nowhere, that you had to go through roads, winding roads, and got finally there. And there was this gathering of dogs, and all of a sudden we went into this tent, and there was like a pen of a small, very small enclosure, and outside there were about 60 dogs, or 50 or 60 dogs, and they start bringing in these dogs, nice huge things. And I said, my God, they're going to kill each other. They're going to kill each other. They don't have any leashes. The dogs were on their necks. There was, the blue ribbons that you have, the straw that that plastic thing. That's how they had the dogs, these little plastic thing. And they came in with these huge dogs. Every dog was in their hands with a little plastic ribbon. And I said, my God, they're going to kill each other. But they didn't. They just stood there side by side, quietly. And that was the first encounter. I said, this is fantastic. A dog of this size and is such a good temperament is unusual. So we went over and over and over these dogs, and we finally decided that, yes, they're not the same as the Rafeiro do Alentejo. They're not the same as the Castro Laboreiro. They're not the same as the smooth-haired Serra da Estrela. They are a different breed. We need to see more. Okay, we need to see more and make a standard. And so we decided on that summer to come back a couple of months later and see more dogs. And we did, the same group. And myself and Dr. Cabral, he was a nephew for Dr. Antonio Cabral, his nephew, José Cabral. We sat down, in the hotel at night, and we wrote the first standard. And funny enough, that the first standard has not really been changed a lot with now, very little things. So we did a good job. I feel we did a good job, and that's how we started with the recognition of this breed. In the middle of this, I can tell you that I fell madly in love with these dogs, because we had to see hundreds of them, not hundreds, but dozens of them, in order to write these standards. And we'd had to go with the jeep, in the middle of the mountains, looking for these dogs, looking for the herd, and the contact with these dogs and the way they worked and the fact that they could live together, 6 or 7 dogs, and respect each other in a hierarchy, and that they would look at you as a stranger and assess you immediately, decide if you were dangerous to the flock or not. All of this was fantastic, and I fell in love with this breed. That's it. I don't know how to say to you. This is a mad love,
Yes.
completely
And
mad love.
tell me, Carla, at what point is the breed today in Portugal? I mean, are there many of them? And what is actually
Oh
the
yes,
original what
we
is the original purpose of the breed?
the original purpose is to guard flocks against the attack of wolves. And they still
Hmm.
do it. And they're very, very needed in that part of the country because we do have wolves. The commercial richness of the shepherds is, herding with their sheep. And these dogs are useful. And the shepherds have 6 or 7, and they cannot really live without them. And when they go to with the national shows that we organize there, it's difficult for them because in order to go with their dogs they have to leave the sheep without dogs, so it's
Hmm.
a complicated thing. So the dogs are very useful, they're still doing their work and very, very needed. And they are breeding a lot of these dogs. I think we register about 300 or 400 a year, which for us is a lot of dogs. And a lot of people now are interested in the breed. It's not a breed for everybody because it's a breed that needs a lot of space. You can't have one of these dogs in the house. You need to have space. The dog needs open space. They can go 20 kilometers, and come back. They have
Yeah.
this need for freedom. And but not everybody can have one of these. But I think that a lot of people that get them, they fall in love with them. I've seen this over and over. You get these
Yeah.
dogs and they fall in love with them. So I
Yeah.
think the future is good for
Is
this.
good. And tell me, Carla, when you talk to the foreign people, to other judges and so on, who have never seen the breed before, what would you say, in a way, are the most important features of the breed? What it is actually, which how would you define a good Transmontano Mastiff? What is the thing about the breed?
It's a big dog, but it's an agile dog. It's not a heavy dog. It has a big round bone, heavy bone. He's short in the back, almost square. Males are shorter than females, of course. It's a proud carriage. The coat has to be thick. He cannot have short coat like a Great Dane. It has to be thick, especially around the neck. It's a protection. You see, the wolf attacks at the neck, so the thick double coat around the neck is very important. And it has a high set tail that curves, many times
Hmm.
curves. It's a very powerful dog, and I think everybody that looks at them really likes them, to tell you the
Yeah.
truth.
And how do you see the future of the breed? I mean, what is going to happen with the breed? You are working on a recognition.
It's
What is
already
happening?
FCI recognized, as you know, FCI
Hmm.
on a
Yes.
provisional basis. So that is very important. We did a really good job, and very happy that the FCI recognized it. It's quite a healthy breed. It's very interesting because when we did the presentation, we had to do the health part, and we were very happily surprised that the health part was excellent. And I think that it's not a dog, as I said, for a small house or for a partner, but there's a lot of places in the Europe and the world that needs this type of dog. There are wolves, there are wolf attacks, there are people that have herds, people that have. So I think it's a dog that will find its place because it's an
Yeah.
easy dog to have. You understand? Many
Yes.
dogs do this work, but the temperament is not that good. And
Yeah.
this dog
Yeah.
is a very nicely tempered dog. The
Yeah.
temperament is fantastic. So
That's
it's a
great.
good pet also.
Yeah. Okay. We have passed more or less over the breeds. Let me read to you a few comments. We have a comment from Tina Taulos saying, um, Carla is a person with so much knowledge, history, and I'm proud to be her friend. We have Alex Rojas, who is asking you, Carla, have you ever think to continue breeding Podengos, but in different size, medium or large?
Yeah, difficult question. No, I have never even thought about it. I did when I was at the zoo. Was at the zoo. I had the cup, two mediums and two large Podengas there, but the medium and the large Podengos are more hunting dogs. In fact, they need the hunt and they need to go out and they need to be their pack dogs. The Pequeno are also pack dogs, but they're easier because they're smaller. They pack with each other and we can keep them in the house. It's not a problem. My daughter lives with three, and it's very, very interesting to see the relationship. But the medium Podengo is also a very nice house dog. I know that from people that have them. But it needs more space. It needs a little bit more of a hunting life. No, I've never thought about having the medium in that respect.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last comment to read for the moment is from our friend Petru Muntean, who is saying, I hope the Barbados will also be recognized soon. Is that something you are working on?
We are working on it. It's not so easy because we don't have the same numbers that we
Charging
have in the
battery.
Montano. We just had recently a meeting with the Barbado, one of the Barbado clubs, and we are going to work together. They are going to do a lot of dysplasia tests and things like that, so that we can present that breed too. But it will take longer because of the numbers. We need more numbers.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful breed. It's a beautiful breed. I understand Petru's question because it's a beautiful breed.
Yeah. Tell me, Carla, two more questions about Portuguese breed, because obviously your involvement with them during the years has been huge, and you made a huge impact in some of these breeds. I want to ask you, when you look in general to the Portuguese breed at the moment, do you think that they are going in a good direction? And which one of these breeds, Portuguese breeds, at the moment you think that needs most of the care, which is at the moment maybe not going in a good direction, or the numbers are not good, or something like this?
Okay, let me just tell you the thing that the Portuguese breeds are working breeds, all of them. They exist because men needed them. Otherwise, they would never have been made. All of them. All of them were functional. And we live in a world that is less and less functional for dogs. I mean, people don't, hunting is being, as you know, not easy for the hunters anymore. Herding is limited to certain areas. And the water trials, water work in the fishing boats doesn't exist anymore. So we have breeds that are like heritage from the past, and we are very proud of them, and because all of them had their utility and their function as men helpers. Some of our breeds are less known, but not for this reason less beautiful or less important. I think about like the Castro Laboreiro. This is a breed that is not very well known, but is a breed that has a very specific work in its village of Castro Laboreiro, and it's not so well known. But to people that not maybe to look at them, don't think it's a beautiful dog. It has its charm, but it's not as attractive because of the color, which is a dark brindle. So this breed maybe needs more attention. And the Fila de San Miguel is a beautiful breed, but it's also a working breed. And in the islands, it works with the cattle. And this situation now with the non-cropping of the ears makes it very difficult, because the tradition in the islands is to crop the ears, and the dogs in the island, some of them are still cropped, although it's not allowed. So these breeds need a little bit more maybe attention. But some of our breeds are very popular, like the Estrella Mountain Dog is immensely attractive and immensely popular even abroad. The Transmontano is making a good impact. Portuguese is what the dog is very international. The Portuguese Podengo Pequeno is extremely international. So The Serra de Aires is a breed that is also found internationally. The Barbado is found internationally. So I think the Perdigueiro is also found in several countries. So I think most of our breeds, most of them, are known and appreciated, and that's for us for me personally, that have dedicated myself so much to our Portuguese breeds. They are so important for me in all respects, not only as a breeder but also as an administrator of the Kennel Club. It is our main object to not let them disappear, to allow them to be known, to make them well known. We tried very hard. So for me, that's very rewarding. The fact that there is interest for our breeds. There is everywhere.
Yeah,
that's good.
And tell me, Carla, is one of these Portuguese breed at the moment, let's say during the years, changing in a way that you think that one of the Portuguese breeds soon will need to have some major changes in the breed standard, or you think they are quite okay in that aspect?
So I don't think we should change the standards. No, any change in the standards for me is always has to be very meditated. It's already bad enough that some of our standards have been changed in other parts of the world, like the Portuguese water dog standard in the UK and in the US is quite different in some areas, and it's not correct. It brings a lot of animosity from our breeder. They don't understand why certain colors are acceptable in the States, why they're not in fact acceptable in our way of looking at the breed. And this change of the standards should not happen that often. And especially it should not happen when it's the people that have some certain dogs want to change the standard to fit and suit their own dogs, which is sometimes the case. So I think the standards, any revision of the standards is always to be done in a very cautious way.
Yeah.
Whoever wrote the standards many years ago were very technical people. They knew what they were doing. Yeah. They gave us the standards, so we should respect them. Only change if needed.
I agree with you. Before we finish the story of the Portuguese breed and the breeds that you were breeding, let me ask you just one last question from Zafra Sirik, who is asking you, what makes the small and large Podengos one breed?
It is not, for us, it's not one breed. For us, it's several breeds. We treat them separately, small, medium, and large. Mm-hmm. We have three breeds. We don't have one breed.
Yes. Yeah, probably she wants to ask what is the connection between the breeds, how much they need to look alike, or I suppose that was the question.
The question is because they are the same family, they are the same, and that the medium is a smaller dog from the grande. There is no gap of size between the medium and the grande, which means that up to a certain centimeters it's a medium, and over that those centimeters, it becomes a grande. Of course, the heads become a little bit heavier in a grande, etc. But there is no gap. But there is a gap between the medium and the small, and it's a big gap. It's 10 centimeters. So there is a nowhere land, between the two varieties of small and medium. And the small goes up to 29 centimeters, 30, we can accept, of course, but the medium starts at 40. And all dogs that are 34, 35, 36, they are neither one side or the other. So two different breeds, so it's not the same breed.
Yeah, okay. We have now, Carla, a few quick questions, which usually people find them quite difficult, but also for our viewers, these questions are always very interesting. Let me ask you the first one. Tell me one show that you consider, let's say, to be, let's say, the highlight of your career in judging dogs.
I cannot answer that. I really can't. Okay. I have judged everything. The most important shows. I have judged Crufts. I have judged world dog shows. I've judged nationals. I've judged. How can I say which one was the most important or most highlight?
So there is not one that keeps a special place in your heart.
Well, there's some situations that I remember with great pride, but that does not mean that the show was more important than another.
Of course.
You know,
Yeah.
I was very proud to judge at Crufts, the group. That was a big honor that they gave me, the English people gave me, for instance. But then I have judged Best in Shows, the World Dog shows, the European shows, at the Metropolitan Kennel Club in Canada. I've just in Australia, Sydney Royal. You name it. I mean, I cannot even remember. I cannot even remember. I don't want to miss one and create a problem.
You see, Dan Erickson is saying enjoying this greatly. So a lot of important people are now going to listen to the answers, because to most of my guests, these have always been very difficult questions. Tell me, Carla, out of all the breeds that you had bred or owned, which one would you say that is your number one heart breed?
Again, a very difficult question to say, because I'm not a young lady anymore, many years in dogs, almost 60 years in dogs. And with each period of my life, there was a heart breed. And I love them all.
Okay, let me
understand. It's very difficult for me.
Let me rephrase a little bit my question. If you would need, let's say, to have only one of these breeds till the rest of your life, which one would you always have?
I think I would have a Podengo, because I think they're very interesting breed, very easy to have, very easy to breed, and very independent, but at the same time very loving. I think at the moment it's an easy breed for me because I can't run, so it's easy to show a Podengo, to have a Podengo, to pick up a Podengo. So this is the dog at the moment that I think for me now is the right dog.
Okay, tell me. When we are
I couldn't have an Afghan. It would be impossible for me. I adore Afghans. How can I have an Afghan? No way.
Yes. Tell me, and then another question. Is there one breed that you never had at home and you would like to have?
I thought about, in the time I thought I would love to have a pug. And at a certain point I thought I would like to have an English bulldog. I did have two French bulldogs, which two bitches, never bred them. I never had litter, and they were really lovely, and I enjoyed them very much. They were my house dogs. But I can't really have many more dogs. Ante, if you look at the image that I've been giving the past 50 years, I've lived with so many dogs, and I've bred so many dogs, and I've been interested in so many dogs, especially for me important, because in order to know a breed and to be able to judge it, you have to live with it and you have to understand it. And that's probably why I have been so unfaithful to one single breed for me. But to tell you the truth, I can have any breed. I would love to have any breed. Sometimes I look at the dog and I say, oh my God, I'd love to have that. But how can I have it? Not feasible.
Okay. Yeah.
Not feasible.
Tell me another, for sure, difficult question. If you would need to think, after all these years of breeding dogs, which one would you say that is the best dog you ever bred?
Oh, I don't even remember the names of the dogs, but I did breed fantastic Portuguese water dogs. I had a dog called Lisboa de Valenegro. She was famous. She had many titles and she had so many cassips, and she was an icon of the breed. Another dog called Cacao de Valenegro, also beautiful brown dog. In Whippets, I had beautiful dogs that I don't even remember their names anymore. But I had 2 or 3 Whippets that were fantastic, and I bred some very nice African hounds too. But they went around the world. For instance, one of them went to Roberto and Vélez Pico and Rafael de Santiago 50 years ago. His name was Blue Boy de Valenegro. He had 12 titles, and that made me very proud. At that time, it was difficult to have titles. So I have so many. I bred so many good dogs. It would be unfair for me to just mention 1 or 2.
But would you be able to remember one victory with your own dogs that for you was the most special one? Somewhere where you have shown the dog, would it be the first best in show with the German Shepherd or something else? That one victory with your own dogs that you will never forget?
Oh, I will never forget going best in show with my first Afghan also. Takabor Tiaga, he was fantastic dog, and nobody knew about this breed at that time. So it was a fantastic win for me. I also went best in show in a very amusing situation with my black and tan Saluki called Ziska. She went best in show and at the Lisbon show back in the 60s also. That the judge was Stanley Dangerfield, and I'll never forget it because I ran around the ring and then all of a sudden I tripped and fell and round, got back into my feet. My trousers were ripped and I ended up best in show. It was an amazing
These
experience.
are the things you never forget. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But
Tell me, Carla, one dog person, which is not alive anymore and you terribly miss. I know it's not easy to say one.
No, but I will tell you. I will tell you. I had a whippet. I had a whippet that was not a show dog, although he did become a champion, but he was not a show dog. It was a rescue whippet. But I had papers for him. He was an imported dog. And his name was something David. And David was really my big companion. And he lived with me but before I got married. And then I got married and I got pregnant. And I thought, my God, David is going to hate this baby coming. And it was exactly the opposite. David decided that the baby was the most important thing in his life too. And I loved David. And David was with us until Katerina was about 4 or 5 years old. So that was a dog that I'll never forget. I also will never forget my first wild Podengo bitch, puppy baby, really first mini wire. Her name was Minnie. She was tiny. Minnie, tiny. Okay. She never gave me any puppies. She decided she loved the Japanese chin, and she only had litters with the Japanese chin. It was a disaster. disaster. Anyway, Minnie was. I had a lot of Japanese Podengos. So she was not my breeding dog, but she was my house dog too, and I loved her. So these two dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another couple, if you want to know. My Saluki called Bury Down Washa. She was fantastic bitch. And of course, Takabor Tiaga Tig, he was my dog, and Rex. So you see, how can I mention them? They are here, they're gone. They only were with me 10 or 15 years and they lost them. And so, I remember the good ones. I remember with
and then
with
it's
love.
going to be even more difficult for you, Carla, to say about dog people. Some dog people who have been incredibly important for you in your life, and you miss them and they are not alive anymore.
Yeah, that is even a more difficult question. I think I have, in a certain way, I have a depth of gratitude to Dr. Antonio Cabral because he was a very opinionated, strong man, but he taught me so much that what I know, technically speaking, comes from him. So I'll always remember him. There was another man that was not very controversial person called Joe Braddon. He also taught me a lot in the world of dogs. He gave me a lot of insights. Denise Nizet-Lemans was famous judge many years ago. I was her steward many times, and she taught me so much. What I know about French bulldogs comes from what she told me in the ring. And Ottavio Pericone, he was Mario Pericone was fantastic. Mario, not Ottavio, his son. Mario Pericone was a good friend and also a man that knew a lot about dogs. And there's so many more that I'm maybe I'm forgetting them. And I don't want to forget them because, but these at least I remember now, and they were very good for me.
Yeah. Tell me, Carla, another difficult question. When you think about one breeder who is, in your opinion, year after year producing top quality dogs that you meet at the shows, you judge them or you just see them and you always like, which one would you say, which breeder you would let's say from Portugal, and one breeder from the rest of the world that always impress you with the quality of his dogs?
This is almost an impossible question because I've been 50 years in this business, and so it would be very unfair for me to mention one and not mention another one. So I'd rather skip that question because
okay.
I don't want to make an enemy or a friend with an answer like that.
Okay, then let's try another one, which is also going to be extremely difficult for you. One dog judge, which is still actively judging, who always impress you with his knowledge and his style in the ring, and you always enjoy to watch him judging. If possible, let's say one from Portugal and one from the rest of the world.
I can think about.
Now you will say it's
no. I can think about several from the rest of the world, and I can think about several, and I don't want to forget anyone. But the fact is that you say that are still judging,
yes.
and one of them that I'm thinking is not still judging. He's just alive, but not still judging. I'm thinking about Rainer Vorinen. He was a fantastic judge and a man that also was a good friend. And I learned a lot from him. And he's still alive. And I don't want to forget Hasletin, and he's not with us anymore. And I didn't mention him before, but he was also a man that I always impressed me. I don't want, to tell you the truth, you are asking me to do a judgment of values, and it's not fair. No. It is because I think people that are many excellent judges nowadays.
Yeah, there are many.
Many, and I don't want to choose one. I really don't. Okay. I can tell you several that I admire, but okay, I would maybe miss a few, and I don't like that either.
Okay. So
you don't put that too difficult.
Listen, once when we meet, you will buy me a drink, because I have not let any of my guests go out of these questions so easily as you, but I will let you go with it. I have been pushing to all my guests.
Maybe if I think about it a little longer, then maybe I'll come up with some answers.
If you come up to it before the end of the interview, you can say. Okay, this is more or less the end of the short questions. And before we continue with other subjects, let me just say that I suppose Tina Taulos was very happy that you said that you would like to have a pug or the English bulldog, because she writes Brachi is the best at home. And then we have a comment from Cory van den Warp saying, I love how involved Carla is at the dog shows in Portugal. Breeders invite her over for a great lunch and she comes. I saw her at the show in Santarém. Respect for how she's involved with the breeds and the breeders. So let's continue with other subjects. What I want to ask you a little bit about breeding, and you said you were breeding different dogs. Tell me, Carla, how different are your breeding strategies in different breeds? Do you have always a kind of an idea what you want to do when you breed, or you keep different strategies with different breeds?
You know, I am a very intuitive breeder. I normally go to pedigrees and look at the pedigrees, hoping that they are correct, because we cannot be sure. We cannot be sure. And, study the pedigrees and think, and somehow I have something that tells me this dog and this dog should be put together, because I like this type, I got this head, I like this. So it's, better than I do that when we do one breeding, then we do a second breeding, it's never the same. The second breeding is never the same. So it's like all this modern way of breeding that is all done with techniques, and it's not for me. I've always been a very intuitive breeder, and looking at the dogs and deciding what is interesting to put together, and especially not losing certain lines. And I have always worked in line breeding all the time. All my breeding has been line breeding, sometimes even with inbreeding, but that was necessity of the times because we didn't have the dogs. But line breeding for me is very important. I am from the old school, Ante. I'm
Yes,
not
yes,
from the
yes, I know.
modern school, and the
Yeah,
old school has given me so much.
yeah,
But
I can understand that. Tell me, Carla, this personal involvement with different breeds that you had at home, how much did that help you when you started to judge, especially when you became
oh, a
audience
lot, a
judge?
lot, a lot, a lot. I wouldn't go and walk into a ring unless I knew much more than the standard. And living with these dogs at home was essential to understand how they think, because each dog thinks in a different way. Each breed has a different characteristic way of thinking, of acting. What is and that is no standard writes it. We have to live with them so that you know exactly. And so that's maybe one of the reasons why I have been so versatile in number of breeds, because in order for me to know them, I have to be with them, near them. And we spoke about the Pekingese before. I had one Pekingese, but I spent days and evenings and weeks in the house of these breeders in Portugal to know, and they drilled me with things about the breed. And that is what I used to do. I even with breeds that I didn't breed, I tried to talk to breeders and find out exactly what was the breed about, beyond the standard. So yes, living with them was essential, and I
Yeah,
still think it is.
yeah. And tell me another thing, Carla, when we talk about judging, I remember when I have asked you for this interview that we did years ago for this magazine, you told me, of course, connected with all the knowledge and all the experience that you had during the years, you think that one of the most important thing for a good judge is to have an eye for a dog. What do you mean by that?
Is when you look at the dog and you can do the X-ray of the dog. You have to go through the coat, you have to go through the skin, you have to go directly to the skeleton and then be able to see the whole picture, and in seconds. You do it in seconds. Your eyes can do it in seconds. Don't get hung up. If you get hung up on something, I always tell this to my daughter when she's discussing some dogs she's bred, and she's very technical, and she hasn't, she goes about, oh, but he has this point that is wrong. I said, look, don't get stuck or hung up on a point. Just see the whole picture, see the whole dog. Don't be stuck on the fact that the tail is not totally corrected, the eyes are not totally dark or something like that. So it's the whole picture, first of all. And then,
Yeah.
Andrew Brace had a very interesting seminar about that. He said, paint them black,
Mm-hmm.
and then look at them. And that is extremely important. So, so this is what you do.
Yeah.
You have to.
Tell me another thing that I want to ask you, which has always been very surprising for me, and in a way, I suppose you take a great pride also about that. Portugal is by the size quite a small country, and at the moment, if we look at the big shows, if we look at world dog shows or European dog shows, we cannot imagine to have one big event without at least 5 or 6 Portuguese judges. And there has been really a big number of Portuguese judges who are world well known and who have judged the most important dog shows. Why do you think this is what it is about Portuguese people that is like in a way dividing them from others and making them so popular?
I think we had most of us of my generation and a little younger, but still people that are over 60 or 55, we had very, very good background, technical background in this country. The whole, the way we learned was in the field was very, very good, and that I think shows, and most of them were good breeders also, so they were involved as breeders before they became judges. Yes, we have excellent judges, and I have myself very proud that this is the case. We also have some excellent breeders, because not only do we see the 5 or 6 Portuguese judges, but we also see dogs from our country winning at top level, and that is also a big, very important. And and not only now, but it's been from the past years. Constantly we have Portuguese dogs in the podiums. That's good, which means that our breeders are doing an excellent job.
I agree with you. And it's always nice, to give a recognition to your own breeders and judges, because they really deserved it. Most of you, I'm saying to you as a president of the Kennel Club, but some of you, the top breeders and top judges, have actually put Portugal on the map in the dog world like not many other countries have been.
Yes,
so I think
we have dedicated breeders that know what they're doing, that they've imported and brought in the right dog, that have worked with the good lines. And not only the older generation, not only the people of my generation or the ones that the generation after me, but younger people. We have at the moment several under 40 people under 40 that are doing really fantastic work in their breeds. And this makes me very proud. Because it means that they have had the right, also they have that exposure. I mean, over the years, I want to think that in some ways I've contributed myself. I've contributed to it in a proportion, of course. I'm not saying that I am the one that did it, no, but the fact that I've always brought in very good judges to judge here, that all the dog shows that I've organized, the young stewards have become judges later on. They've learned. If you have stewards that are interested, I was a steward. I learned by being a steward. As I said, Nizet Le Mans, she taught me all I know about French bulldogs, and that was 50 years ago. So if a good steward is lucky to be with a good judge, he learns. And a lot of our judges have been stewards, and they have to. It's obligatory to be stewards. It's part of our education. So I think that many of our nowadays judges, and in the younger generation, they're not so well known yet, but they will be. Because we have a few that are really good. They're really good.
That's great.
And you will be seeing them. And they used to be stewards. And
that's great.
Listening.
Yeah. Let me read just a few comments. Rooney Aqua Christiansen is saying, Carla and Portuguese water dogs were awesome. It's very sad that she doesn't breed them anymore. My computer is always making me a little bit problems, and I'm not so good with techniques. Andrew Brace is saying, one thing that has always impressed me about Carla is her brilliance with languages. Presumably they come easily to her, but how did she embark on tackling a new language? How many languages do you speak, Carla?
I speak 5.
Oh, that's a nice.
5, but I was born with the 3. In other words, 3 languages. When I was 2 years old, I could speak 3 languages already, because at home it was Italian and Spanish, because my father used to live in Spain, and then in the country it was Portuguese. So the 3 language came immediately, and my parents were very avant-garde. They put me really avant-garde for the time. At 2 years of age, I was already in the kindergarten. And that was a German kindergarten. And too bad they didn't leave me there a little longer, because I would have learned German, which I didn't. But at 3, they moved me to a French Montessori school, and then to a French school. So by the time I was 6, for 5 or 6, I already spoke 4 languages. It was for me very easy. English, I learned on my own. And I learned through dogs. I must thank the dogs for English, because I couldn't find anything written about dogs unless it was in English. So I had to learn English. So I learned English through the dogs and for the dogs.
That's great. Anyhow, I suppose this is going back to what we were talking about, what you were talking about, judging dogs. Desi Murphy is saying, yes, it's important not to search for the faults. Petru Muntan is saying, Hasse said, the dog can be also green. Divo Rasera is saying to us, hello, lovely lady. Alin Dumitrescu is saying, amazing words. Don't hang up and always see all the picture. Thank you again, Carla, for sharing us your knowledge. Congrats, Ante, again, to bring us Carla. So I'm happy that a lot of people are still watching and interested in what we are talking. I want to go to another aspect of your life, Carla. everybody knows you have, and you have mentioned it just a little bit before, that you have organized a lot of big dog shows in Portugal. You have put Portugal on the map with always bringing top quality judges from all over the world. And obviously, because of that, a lot of top dogs from all around the world are traveling regularly to Portugal. But I want to go back to 2001 and the World Dog Show in Oporto. Tell me your memories about that event.
Well, I think it was an event that we managed to mobilize everybody, friends and foes, people that didn't talk to each other, people that were not in good relationship. We managed to make everybody work, and it worked because it was a teamwork. And I never forget, I made this organigram, with all the things that had to be done. And in the center, it was my name. My name was in the middle. And then there was all these arrows with all the areas, with all the names of everybody. And it worked fantastically. It was, everybody had something to do. Nobody had to ask anyone what to do because they knew exactly how to do it. Let me tell you two things about this show. First of all, we had a big scare because it was the foot and mouth disease year. You remember?
Yeah, I
and
remember.
Crocs was canceled. So we had really a nervous break because of this show. And second, of something that you don't know is that a lot of these things happened there. Some of these things were improvised at the moment, on the spur of the moment. For instance, the judges' presentation, which was a parade of flags, which was wonderful. It was improvised. It was really. There was this guy there called David Ribeiro. He did it. I don't know how he did it, and he has been doing it ever since. And thank God he exists. Not only for that, because he's a lovely person, and that was totally improvised, and it was beautiful. And the other thing that you don't know was that we lost our computers in the middle of the show.
Okay.
They broke down, and the whole thing was done without computers, without. It was done without papers. How we managed to pull it together, don't
Nobody
ask
knows.
me.
Yes.
Don't ask me. But it was a huge success, and we made a lot of money. It was also a very big success economically for the Portuguese Kennel Club. I'm not saying it all was perfect. It was not. There were some things that didn't go very well, but it was an event that I think, it's interesting. It's now 19 years and you still mention it, and there's people that still remember it.
Absolutely.
19 years later,
yes,
they remember it as a fantastic show. Now, that makes me very happy because it was 2 years of work, hard work, and my team was very good.
Yeah. Okay, staying on the same subject, Carla, but just before that, let me go back a little bit to these podengos, trying to understand maybe better the question that Zafra Sirik has asked. Obviously, I suppose she's trying to get to find out why there is a difference in type. I would say because she has right. Yes, I agree, but the large podengos are different than mediums and miniature. Are they much different? I don't know a lot about the breed.
It's the same family. It's the same family. We treat them as 3 different breeds. We do not accept officially, if the hunters do it, I don't know, but officially we do not accept mixtures between the mediums and the smalls. We do not accept that.
Mm-hmm.
We do accept occasionally mixtures between wires and smooths, because it's good for improve the gene pool. But we do accept that a large medium that goes over the size can be then put into the grande. Okay.
Yes.
Of course, they are different. It is, of course, when breeds have different varieties of types of sizes, there is always differences.
Yeah.
Because the Pequeno is obviously a dwarfism of a medium that happened genetically. God knows when or how. Back in 30 or 40. But it's the same family with the same breed, but 3 different separate.
Yeah. Okay. Before I start with my question, Tino Pehar is commenting on your story about the World Dog Show. He says, yes, Carla, but every team is good as much as the leader of the team. So I suppose he wants to make you a compliment because you have been obviously.
And I'm very grateful for that compliment. But I also must say, a leader is not a leader if he does not have people that work with him or her, that are up to the job of doing their part and are willing to do it. So I also have to think and thank especially those that work so hard. And it's not only at the World Dog Show. In the whole Kennel Club, I have a team of people that are working well, and some of them became organizers on their own and doing very good job. So it's good. It's good that they learned and they want to do it on their own.
Excellent. I want to ask you, Carla, about the Portuguese Kennel Club. You became the president of the Portuguese Kennel Club in 1985, which means you are the president for 35 years. That's amazing.
Not really. No. Wait a moment.
Okay.
Yes, there was officially, I am the president since 1991.
Okay.
Okay, and but there was a time there was a moment where it was Luis Pinto Teixeira that became president after me, and then he did not want to continue. He didn't do the 3 years, and then I took over. So I think right now I'm the president for 29 or 30 years. Before that. Before that, it was other presidents. I was on the board, but I have other presidents.
Yeah, still, it's an amazing achievement. What I want to ask you shortly, and I know it's not a short story, but I want that you tell me from your personal experience with the Kennel Club, how do you look at the Kennel Club when you took over? It means in the past when you started. How you look at it now? And what do you hope for the future?
Oh, that's a long story, but let me see if I can answer you quickly. When I took over, the Kennel Club was office was in the middle of the city in Lisbon, 3rd floor. We were renting this place. We were like a part of the Hunters Club, which discontinued, and we remained there, and we were renting that. And we had money problems. We only registered about 2,000 dogs a year, not even so. It was difficult. It was not an easy kennel club to run. The fact that we were so successful with the European Dog Show in '94, and that was my first big work, was to bring the European Dog Show at the time when nobody even knew where Portugal was, you know. It was like somewhere at the end of Europe, and nobody really even thought about it. But that show was very successful, gave us some economic possibilities, and from that time on, we grew, and we managed to buy our own building and to move into our own building, and registrations grew. The contact was extremely important. We were, in 1994, we were at the end of Europe. There was no contact between breeders. From Spain, yes, a little bit, but France upwards, no contact. Nobody would think about coming to Portugal with their dogs. It was too far, too much road, you know, all the things that, you know, that you've heard. And after 1994, there was much more contact because people came with their dogs, and our own breeders and exhibitors had an eye-opening. That was very important. And they also started going, and that is, so the interchange started, and the whole panorama grew. And of course, when we managed to obtain the World Dog Show in 2001, which was only 7 years later, that there was only 7,500 dogs at that show. Don't think it was a huge show because of that foot and mouth disease.
We lost
some quite a bit, but it was again a lot of dogs came from abroad, and there was a lot of fun. And I think that gave a big boost to our breeders of the time. Of course, nowadays that is not so important because now we have globalization. Now we have Facebook. Now we have contact. Everybody knows each other. Everybody's interchanging dogs. There's much easier to travel with dogs, much easier to bring dogs. But at that time, it was extremely difficult to bring dogs in. It was difficult to import dogs. It was difficult to send money because there was a lot of money restrictions. So those two shows were very important to make the contacts. And they were the awakening for our breeders, and which nowadays they don't really need that awakening. They know they go all over the place, as you know, and they see dogs and they know, and they make history for some of their breeds. So I think that that is the situation. Then we had some very good years and the stabilization. We are a stable kennel club. Registrations have gone down over the years, but they stabilized. So in the last 4 or 5 years, we are stabilized. And you asked me about the pandemic, and of course, we are known for doing these good dog shows. You know, you've been at the dog shows.
Absolutely, yes.
You know, I am a perfectionist, and I've always been a perfectionist. And I am a working president. I work as much as anyone else works, and who works with me at these shows knows that I'm telling you the truth. I'm there always in the first line of work. I've always done that. Nowadays, I have my own little bike, so I don't have to run, but I'm still there. I'm still there on the first line. That's what I like. I love it. I want to think that we put on really nice shows. The Portuguese Kennel Club shows are well known for their quality of judges, for the organization, for the way they are, in a certain way, innovative decisions that we take, the way we do the rings and we decorate them and all of that. And not only the Portuguese Kennel Club, I'm talking about the shows that I own myself do, but there's some other shows in our country that are very well organized too. And, judges love to come here. And we are very lucky in that respect because we get the best judges, a lot of exhibitors from abroad, at all shows. If you want to think the fact that one of our annual shows, which takes about 2,000 dogs, which is the winner show in January, usually close to 2,000 dogs a day, when a normal show in Portugal gets 500 international shows.
Amazing,
so we get more than 1,000 dogs from abroad, and that gives a lot of contact, that very necessary contact between breeders. And the new titles that we have now, like the ACL titles, all of that has brought in a lot of exhibitors from abroad. And that creates the contact with our breeders and the very healthy contact, because no one likes to have a foreigner come here and win. So you have to have a better dog in the next. So I think that in that respect we are in very good situation. Now this COVID situation, you asked me about that. Well, we had to reinvent ourselves, didn't we? We had to reinvent ourselves. From the beginning of this pandemic, I knew from the beginning it would not be a matter of months. It would be a matter of maybe years. And things will change or have changed. And even if we start again, they will never be the same. Not in the next 4 or 5 years, I think, at least, because there will always be the fear of getting into the same problems or contagious or something. So we have to invent ourselves and do dog shows that are still agreeable. And it's interesting how many foreigners want to come. All the time they write to me and say, "Oh, when do you have a show? I want to come. I want to." Not only from Spain, from France, from everywhere. And that's good. That's good. That means that
Yeah.
we've done a good work, good job.
Yeah.
And I have a good team working, so I'm proud of
And
my people.
what are your views on the future for the Portuguese Kennel Club? What is something that maybe you still didn't do and you would like to do?
I think we could maybe hope in the future to have more events, big international events. But right now, I don't think we can plan ahead in that way.
Yeah, of course.
We cannot,
That's
because
that's for sure.
look, we don't know. Not until we know the results, the actual results of this pandemic on our big events. Because nowadays it's not so easy to organize a big event. When we did the big events, we had sponsors, guaranteed sponsors. Nowadays, you don't have guaranteed sponsors. Very
That's true.
difficult. And it's when we did the other shows, when I did the World Dog Show, the European Dog Shows, I knew from the beginning I was not going to lose money.
Yeah.
I was very happy to make money, but I knew from the beginning I didn't going. And nowadays, you don't know. You have to.
That's true.
Also, because your exhibitors demand much more than what the exhibitors demanded a few years ago. So until this pandemic is controlled, I think that it's going to be very difficult to organize. And I wouldn't like to be in the hands of those that have dog shows of that size coming, because I know that they have a lot of sleepless nights ahead of them.
That's
Yeah.
for sure. That's for sure. Tell me, Carla, another thing that I want to ask you. As we said, you are a president of the Kennel Club almost for 30 years, and obviously everybody who is any kind of a leader at some point of his life or career gets to be criticized for something.
Oh, all the time.
All the time. How do you deal with the criticism?
Well, believe it or not, I'm a very sensitive person, and I'm very, very sensitive. And I'm very sensitive to people that tell me that I've done something well, and that I like that. But I also like to hear the criticism if it's a positive criticism, because I'm always learning. I'm still learning. That's good. And when the day I decided I'm not learning anymore, then that's the end. Then it's time to put my boots under the bed and think about something else.
Yeah.
I'm still learning, and I like to understand what is the people want and what is that they think is not well done. So when people criticize me, I like that. I like that. If they do it in a positive way, if they do it with a good reason, and telling me, look, you're doing this wrong, why don't you think about it this way? And if I like to think about it, and they say, yeah, they're right, yeah, they are right. And as long as I can reinvent myself, then I think I'm still alive and doing things in the right way. There's so much it can still be done. This COVID has given us one important knowledge, is that we are not able to do dog shows. Yes, that's for sure. But we are able to keep people interested in what is important, which is learning from the experience of others, listening to others people's ideas. And this we can do through our computers. It's magnificent that we can sit in front of each other and exchange knowledge. And this is what has been happening in the past 6 months. In not only just learning dog breeds, also other areas. And because there are people that are as passionate about hunting or about mondioring, or about agility, or about anything, that also want to express, their knowledge. And we've tried to do that. We've been doing that through webinars. So that is what we do now.
Yeah. Okay. I want to ask you, there are only 2 more questions, Carla. We have been speaking already for 2 hours.
Yeah, we could go on forever.
Yeah, it is like this always when you start, you just get more ideas, and every time when you say something, I think I could ask something more, but then we would really go
and there's
forever.
Still so much left unsaid.
Exactly.
Yes.
But let me just go now to another important part of your career in dogs. You are a member of the general committee of the FCI.
Yes.
We all know that at the moment the world of the purebred dogs has been attacked by many groups in different ways, talking about cropping, docking, brachycephalic breeds, and all the things. What do you think, or what do you feel that the FCI can do at the moment, or should do in the future, to help or to do something positive about this?
Well, that's $1 million question, and would be the $1 million answer, wouldn't it?
That's for sure.
I think the FCI has been adjusting very well to the modern times. We are now in a society that is much more in direct contact, social media contact. It has its pros and it has its cons. And it's difficult for the structure, the way this FCI structure is conceived, to have a quick response on social media. It's difficult because that's not actually the job of the FCI. The FCI is a regulator, has to do rules, has to put rules in practice, has to regulate all of what is the world of dogs in all its aspects. And that's a hell of a job already. It's not a limelight job, no. It should not be in the limelight doing this. It does it in the background, because what the FCI is a union of 90 countries. And each country has its individuality, and each country has its problems, and each country has things that are more important than others. And also culture. Dog culture is not the same in the several sections of the FCI. So it's a very difficult job to keep everybody in line and to keep everybody going. And to give immediate answers is also very difficult. So I think the FCI is growing up now. It's growing up into a different organization. It's not yet fully grown, but it's changing, it's adapting. And then I think we are going in the right direction. People have to be a little bit more, how do I say, understanding. We cannot expect from the FCI an immediate answer. You understand? Because
Yes.
It's not the way it works. The general office, the office can give an answer, the director can give answers on matters that are rules, but the general committee cannot give immediate answers right away, that way. So we have to grow. We are still adjusting. And I think this COVID situation will make us also change a little bit in the way we rule the organization. So more than this, I cannot tell you right now. But
Yeah.
I think people have to be a little bit patient. Don't expect immediate reaction. Some reaction, necessary reaction, yes, but not right away reaction, because it's not possible.
Yeah. Okay. Before I ask you my last question, with which we are going to close this interview, let me read you a few of the comments that we have received in the last moment. Let me go to the start of it so that I don't. Okay. Here, first one is from Perry Burnside. She's saying, "Well said, Carla. Each one brings their strengths to a successful team, and what is lovely is your recognize and acknowledge your team members." Runi Aqua Christiansen saying, "Can you ask Carla if there will be another Portuguese Water Dog Congress? All that attended the first one demand one more, because that was a huge success." So do you want to answer on that?
Well, I think the Portuguese Water Dog Congress in 2013, I think, I don't even remember, it was a few years ago, was really a huge success. And we achieved what we wanted, which was to establish the goal of one breed, one standard, and one breed, one dog. And it was, we put together people from all over the world, and it was, I think it will never be forgotten. And I think
Yeah.
a second edition would have to be thought very careful, because that one was marvelous. And
Okay. But do you think that the second edition will happen or not?
well,
It's something to
maybe,
think about.
maybe.
Yeah.
I think we should do a congress of all Portuguese breeds,
Yeah.
and that's
Okay.
what I think. Not only Portuguese water dog, a congress for all Portuguese breeds, because they all deserve it. And we had this plan actually before the COVID. We had the plan to do this on January next year. We had the plan to do a huge congress with all the Portuguese breeds. Unfortunately, it went down the drain with the COVID. But if we do a congress in the same way we did the one with the Portuguese waterdog, but with all the Portuguese breeds, I think it's more towards the goal of the Portuguese Kennel Club now.
Okay, wonderful. Deborah Serra is saying, Carla, I believe we met for the first time in America in 1982 when she judged Santa Barbara Kennel Club. Tina Taulo saying that he's a big fan of Portuguese Vino Verde. Gloca Correa saying that Portugal also is organizing a lot of very special small shows. Desi Murphy saying that he will never forget the January show in Porto. Andrew Brace saying, let me come to this. One of my favorite Carla memories was at the end of one of the big international summer shows. When I wanted to take a best in show photo, I got everyone together, but there was no sign of Carla. Eventually, I found her in the hospitality tent, packing cups and saucers into boxes and loading the van. Yes, she's a working president. Then Angelica Tokarieva is saying, I would like to ask Carla if it is possible a little bit to simplify the conditions for obtaining the title of junior champion this year, because we didn't have Lisbon show and junior age of our dog is ending. Thank you very much. Are you planning something on that?
Well, this is really not my plan, because we are in a situation now that we are trying, as I said, to do still a show this year at the end of November. If we can get that show on, it will be a qualifying show, and so that gives the possibility to a lot of people to finish their championships, and because we also want to do an international show 2 days later, which is a holiday year. So it's a possibility. If we can do it, then that will answer all the questions. Otherwise, if we cannot do it, it will be our show committee that has to decide how to do it. Nowadays, it's not my own responsibility,
Decision.
but my committee has to do it.
Yeah.
What was the other question? I don't.
There was no other question. I'm going to read a few more comments that we have. Tino Pehar is saying Portugal is a small country with very big number of national breeds. I think around 15. That's amazing number for one small country as Portugal. How many of that breeds is officially recognized in Carla's time? I suppose that was not an easy task, and we must admire that part of her mandate as well. Let me see. Desi Murphy saying these interviews teach us so much. Then you have a question from Zafra Sirik. She's asking you, can you organize Zoom international workshop on the Portuguese breeds nowadays when we cannot travel?
Well, that's a very interesting idea. It's an interesting idea. We are thinking about doing one for Portugal. Actually, we've been talking about it. Always hoping that we don't have to do it and we go back to the original idea to do the Congress. But yes, that can be a possibility that we can work on. And a lot of people abroad are interested in Portuguese breeds nowadays. And a lot of people are working with Portuguese breeds. And that's good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Romy Remakers is saying very interesting and inspiring stories. Can we please have a part 2 of this interview? This is also something that we can think about. Then we have Deborah Serra saying, thank you, great interview. Filippo Gianola saying, grande Carla, I would go on and on to listen her. Ludovic Gerona saying, fantastic Carla. Karen Lynn saying, very interesting, so much experience in dogs. Wow, I like the fact that you like many breeds like me and not just one. Respect for that. anyhow, there has been a lot of comments, Carla, and a lot of nice things said about you. My last question for you for tonight will be, what would be your message to the young people who want to enter the world of the dogs? And in the same time, how do you see the future of our sport?
Okay, that's a huge question and difficult answer. But what do I say to young people? First of all, walk into the world of dogs for the right reason. First of all, because you love dogs. That's the first thing. You have to love dogs. To give your life to dogs, you have to love dogs and to live with them and to be able to go beyond just the competition part. Because a lot of people that are into dogs, in dogs, for the pleasure of winning. And okay, it's not wrong. It happens in other sports, like in horses and things like that. But the essential of this sport is love your dogs, breed dogs that you love, and be in it because you have passion for a breed and are interested in the breed. So that is the most important. Don't think about it because it's glamorous, because you're going to be invited to judge all over the world. It's not that glamorous, really, believe me, to go around the world judging dogs. It's sometimes extremely complicated. You get wet, you get sick, you are in the mud, and hotels are not that good, the food is disgusting. So it's not that glamorous, if you think about that to make money, forget it. There's no money to be made in that part of the sport. Maybe in other areas of the sport, yes, it can be professionalized. Nothing wrong with that. I am not against at all that there are professional handlers, or not against that. I think it's necessary also. But do it because it comes from your heart, because you love what you're doing, because you actually love the dogs, or because you love the sport that the dog is involved with. Be passionate about agility, or be passionate about maneuvering, or be passionate about obedience. It doesn't matter. Just as long as you do it with hunting, just as long as you do it with passion, then you are doing it the right way. If that is your motivation, it is the right motivation. All the rest comes as fringe benefits. The traveling, the money, the glory, the recognition, whatever you want, that then comes as, as a payoff from what you put, from the passion and the love and the interest that you've put in this sport. And this is what has moved me from the beginning. Passion for dogs, passion for the breeds, wanting to learn more. I'm still learning every day, still learning. Tonight I learned things that also from this interview. I know when I go back to my little corner and relax, some things will come to me that were a learning experience. And that is what makes us move. And be proud.
And your thoughts on the future?
My thoughts from the future is that we have to be patient. We have to be patient because no one knows exactly what will come out of this pandemic as a result. We don't know. We can maybe foresee a few things. I can foresee, but we are not sure. It will take a long time for things to go back to what they were. We will not be able to travel so much as used to travel. The dogs, it's difficult to travel with dogs anyway. The dog shows will be more contained. It will be more of specialized dog shows, and that's good. That's good. That's good that we are now, having more specialties and more club shows, and that, because that is where the learning is done. And so the next years, 2, 3, 4 years will be years of that should be used for learning. And that is why I'm such an advocate for this new way of seminars and interviews, all of this contact that we can have with each other, that you are now sharing some of my knowledge and some of my experience. It's a privilege for me to have been able to do this. And perhaps I could have said many more things and allowed you to share more things still. But the time is, as you say, short. And a lot of things are left unsaid. And a lot of areas were untouched. And what can I say?
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the wealth of knowledge I've had from my peers, and if I can share some of my knowledge, some of my experiences, I will always be open to that,
Yeah.
and ready for that.
Yeah. Well, I must say that we have come to the end of our interview, and it is amazing how quick 2 hours and 20 minutes can pass. And as you said, there are many things that were left unsaid. But you said, and I want to thank you for that, that you had a privilege to give this interview. I must say that it was actually my privilege to have you as my guest, and obviously a privilege of all the people who were watching online this interview, and many of them who are going to watch this afterwards when we leave it on Facebook. As you said, I think that, of course, these modern times and this pandemic have taken out something from us, that's for sure. But in another way, I must say that I feel really honored that because of this pandemic, I started to do this thing. And I have get so much knowledge from the people like you who have spent their whole life in dogs, and that's something amazing to be able, because we all meet from time to time in the dog shows, and we all can have short conversations and talk about something, but we don't get this kind of possibility to talk about these kind of things, and we learn so much. So I'm extremely grateful to you, Carla, for this opportunity, and of course, I'm sure that you will be happy also to see the interview later on and see all this, because obviously I didn't manage to read all the comments. We had over 140 comments during the interview. So obviously I have missed some of them. But of course, I think this is so nice because we all, as you said, managed to learn something from it. And that's this beauty of this world of dogs. Let me, for the end, read you a few more comments. Andrea Čučnik from Slovenia saying, thank you, Carla and Ante, for wonderful and interesting evening. World Dog Show in 2001 will forever stay in my mind because of top organization, and I got my first wonderful Portuguese lady, my Boston. Marina Sergeva saying, thank you so much. Best wishes from small Podengo for our lovely breeder, Carla Molinari. Perry Burnside saying, thank you, Carla and Ante, for your time this evening. A wonderful interview. Ana Lucia Saletti saying, thank you, Ante. You give me always great lessons. Tino Pejar saying that he is sending his regards to you and me, and that he has absolutely enjoyed watching the interview. Angelica Tokarieva saying, thank you very much, Carla, for this fantastic interview. All the best for you and our Portuguese club. Michael Canalizo saying, great stuff from a great lady. Alex Rojas saying, thank you, another great interview. Glora Correa saying, a kiss from Glocka and Joao Silvino. Ilona saying, thank you very much for the interesting interview. So I'm, as I said, extremely grateful to you, Carla, for sharing your time and knowledge with us. And also, obviously, grateful to all the people who were watching it. I hope that these crazy times are going to pass and we are going to meet each other soon somewhere. Is there something that you would like to say for the end of this interview?
Well, I think I've said a lot, and if I start talking again, maybe I won't stop. But yes, I also mean it. I want to thank you, Ante, for the opportunity, because somehow some people think that I am a standoffish person. A lot of people think she's someone that is not approachable, and she's like in a tower. So it's not true. Not true. I really appreciate when people come to me and talk to me and ask me things and want to share their opinions with me. They have to understand that I have a hearing problem. I'm deaf, and sometimes I don't, hear or don't recognize the person because of that. But if you have any questions when you meet me at the dog show or you meet me anywhere in the world of dogs, I'm a very easy person to talk to. Just don't be put off by the facade. The facade is only a facade. And I talk dogs. Let's talk dogs. I'd be very happy to talk dogs with anyone. And those of you that are here that know me well, they know that is the case. So thank you, Ante, for
I mean,
this opportunity.
you have shown tonight absolutely that not only you are extremely approachable, but that you are extremely happy to show your great knowledge to other people, and I think that's so important to have people like you who are happy to share what they have learned during the years to other new generations, because that's the only way to move forward. Thank you again, Carla, for your time. I have really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Ante.
I must thank also to all the viewers who are with us this. I know I have promised to everyone that this is going to be a month of only lady guests, but I must say, because of the information that we got yesterday about the postponement of the World Dog Show in Madrid for the 2022, next weekend my guest will be Rafael Malo Alcrudo, who was supposed to judge Best in Show at the World Dog Show. So he's going to be with us next week. And thank you, Carla, once again, and see you all on next Wednesday. Good night, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
En el mar, solo quédate esta noche. Juguemos como niños a indios y vaqueros. Quémonos el alma con la punta de los dedos. Bebámonos la vida en vasos de whisky sin hielo. Dejemos que la lluvia nos pille bailando en cueros. Sintamos como el sol nos impide tocar el cielo. Contemos nuestros pasos antes de volvernos cuerdos.